Hey everybody, Richard Pennington here, Elite Stone Replicas, and kind of wanted to, break away from the part 8 for now, and just kind of give you guys a little quick rundown of how I make my scratches on the part 7, the Elite New Blood, and a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need an X-Acto with a very, very sharp pointed tip on it. Get these at any Hobby Lobby. Basically, you can get them in the model section. They're very thin Q-tips with the real fine point on it. You kind of see that. Use those. Just some water. Pencil. Make sure it's sharpened and has a pretty decent eraser. Doesn't have to be the best eraser, but a good eraser. And some good reference shots. What I did was, I don't know if anybody can, likes to do this kind of stuff, but I work with Photoshop and Illustrator doing graphic design and stuff, so I was able to plot out my scratches on a regular piece of paper, because sometimes when you're working with the reference shots of the mask and stuff, you can kind of get immersed in the mask and really kind of lose focus on what the actual details look like. So I figured that it would be easier to put just the scratches and stuff on a piece of paper. Kind of makes it easier to focus on just the damages and the scratches. So of course those aren't all of them. Those are just the main ones on the nose, the mouth, and part of the cheek and stuff. Best thing to do is make sure you have a decent, your mask is all coated, color coded. Basically this is what you want to start with. You can see it's got the acrylic like I showed you on the part 8 last night. It's not spray painted. I did spray paint it black underneath, which is what you really want to do, because you don't want to work with, you can either work with a black blank or spray paint the entire thing black. This entire thing was black at one point, but I went over it with the acrylic. The acrylic was really just kind of a linen mixed with a little bit of just a drop of golden sunset in it, just to kind of give it a little bit of yellowish, kind of an ivory tint to it, but not a whole lot. And so that's kind of what I started with. And unfortunately, I didn't want you guys to have to sit here and watch me, do the whole process, because it takes me about an hour to plot out my scratches and everything, make sure I got them where I want them. And but the outcome of using the pencil and everything like that is something like this. You can kind of see the pencil marks, how the scratches work, everything like that. I've got all the scratches plotted out exactly where I want them. And you can do it light with a pencil. You will probably be erasing a few times, marking them out exactly where it is. And if anybody's wondering, you can kind of see the blister there. That blister, I just use a soldering iron with a fine tip, and just kind of use reference shots of the movie Mask and everything, and just kind of heat up the soldering iron and just kind of tap the dots in every now and pretty much anywhere I want it. But the only problem with doing that is that you have to go back over it with sandpaper, because when you melt the plastic, it leaves little lips on it, so you got to sand all that stuff smooth. You can see on the mask that I just showed you, I didn't fill in all the dots and the blisters that I made with the soldering iron. Some of them got filled in with the acrylic while I was using the spouncer, but I wanted to kind of leave some of them black. Don't worry about that, simply because of the fact when you start using your clear coats and everything, some of that stuff will actually fill in those holes and smooth it out a little bit more. You don't have to have it very, very heavy, just enough to know that it's there. And then, like I said, as you spray it, you can kind of spray a little heavier in those areas, just to kind of fill in the areas and fill in the holes. And then as you weather it, the weathering will cover up. You'll still see some of the black inside, but it doesn't have to be that heavy. It's kind of what I said on the part 8. If you do the acrylic, doing the scratches is a whole lot easier. You won't scratch into the black undercoat, which is very important. because it's actually kind of a pain when you have to go back over it with a very fine paintbrush and black paint. You can kind of get messy, so you want to kind of avoid that. So what you want to do is, with your very fine Q-tip, you want to dip it in a little bit of water, and what you want to do is, you don't want to scrub on the acrylic, you just want to wet it a little bit. Just wet it where your lines are. Don't worry about the pencil, you'll erase that later. It doesn't really affect anything, but just use that little Q-tip, dip it in the pencil, or dip it in the water rather, and then just lightly go over small areas where you want to start making your scratches. Then what you can kind of do is, you take your X-Acto blade, and where you got the scratches, and you can kind of see I started one there, and just kind of lightly, gently, with the very tip, just gently move that acrylic off. And so, like, you know, you just kind of, you don't have to do a whole lot of wiggles or anything like that. Just do some light scratches across it after you've wet it with the acrylic, or with, you know, with the Q-tip. One thing, after you've gotten even just a little spot like that, if you use a separate Q-tip and wet it, make sure it's not soaking wet. You can actually take the Q-tip, and if you go over it, you can wipe more off of the acrylic and make it thicker or thinner, however you want it. And it doesn't make a mess. And you just kind of use your finger and just wipe it off. It's real simple. And kind of a real easy process once you've got the design how you want it. But make it easy on yourself. Use the water. Use that little Q-tip. Lightly go over the, you know, the area that you want. In fact, I'll go ahead and do one for you real quick, just so you can kind of see it. Just, you know, regular. I use bottled water. That's just because I hate keeping a cup of it around, so I just use bottled water. But I'll go over one of them. So just barely wet it. Keep a towel around so you can kind of dry off the Q-tip just a little bit. And one I'll do for you is right here. You can kind of see, I don't know, the light's kind of blowing it out, but you can kind of just wet right into here. And you can sometimes, if you do it enough to wet it, you can start just kind of peeling away the acrylic. You can, I don't like to do that, just wet it, and sometimes it'll be a little too dry, so go ahead and wet it a little bit more. Kind of like that. Don't worry about hurting it. You know, you're not going to take off the spray paint underneath, just wet it. So you can see that it's wet. Take the X-Acto and just lightly go over it. And you can see how easy it is. It's already starting to scratch away. You can kind of see that. You can see how it's starting to move away. And I'm not even really putting any pressure on it. I'm just moving the acrylic off of it. Really helps out. So you can kind of see how you're seeing the black paint underneath. If I was to wipe it off, you know, it's still a little faded just because some of the acrylic's on there, but after you get your scratch done, just use a little bit more water, wipe it off real quick. Turns out to be black. Looks very, very good, so you can kind of see that and get a close-up. And basically you want to do that over all the scratches. Like I said, don't soak it. Use your X-Acto to kind of mark off where you want it whenever you're doing it, and everything like that. Now, I'm going to pause the video and kind of take care of this one, and I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like after it's all been done, and kind of the idea of what I was talking about and how clean it looks. Underneath, you don't get a whole lot of the scratches of the black undercoat. So give me just 1 second, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Didn't really want to have to go over this whole thing tonight. So if you remember, this is what we started with. And you saw this one. And basically after you're done with that, this is what you're going to end up with. You can really see how clean that is. Underneath, you don't see any scratches on the black spray paint, even over here on the edges with the propeller damage. All the little mouth scratches, even that subtle one, that one there, you just wet it just a little bit, lightly scratch it, don't take off too much of the paint, and get a little bit there. But that nose scratch, I think, really turned out perfect. And this is actually for Robert Paradis. Hopefully I pronounced your last name right. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but I'm going to be this one's already sealed and everything. I'm actually ready for weathering on this one, which will be taking place over this weekend. So yeah, so I mean, like I said, Magician doesn't reveal all his secrets, but I will definitely give you some really good tips on how to do this stuff. I wanted to kind of jump into the part 7 because I was in the mindset that I was in and everything. So but again, just remember, use your acrylics as a color coat for the part 7, and it's really easy to make those scratches without digging into either the blank or the undercoat. It's definitely easier if you use a black blank, but if you don't have access to the black blank, you know, like I said, it's just as easy to spray paint the whole thing black, and you won't have to worry about, you know, if you use that technique I just gave you, you'll have a lot easier time doing the scratches. But make sure, like I said, you use a lot of the reference shots. Do yourself a favor, kind of like I did, if you are able to. You know, print out something that shows just the scratches, even when you're using your reference shots, because it just makes it a whole lot easier to focus on the damages and less on the mask, because you can get immersed in what the actual mask looks like and lose those details. So yeah, again, hopefully it seemed my last video was a hit. I'm really glad everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And you know, there's a lot of people out there that really enjoy this kind of stuff and would really like to know how to paint their own mask. Hopefully it doesn't kill my business at all. I'm just kidding, y'all. You know, it's just a lot of fun, and I like sharing this information. It's really good stuff, and I know there's a few people out